There's a quiet strength in a person who knows when to speak and when to let silence do the talking. We spend so much of our lives trying to be understood, to be validated, to be seen in the right light. And in that pursuit, we often over-explain our choices, our feelings, our values, our boundaries, our worth, our life path. We think that if we just give enough detail, if we just open ourselves wide enough, the other person will nod and say, "I get it." But here's the truth: not everyone needs to get it. Not everyone should. There are things in life that deserve to be lived, not defended. Things you stand on simply because they are yours, not because you've convinced someone else they're worth standing on. There are 6 of these things in particular, 6 pieces of your being that should never be explained away. And when you learn to stop explaining them, you begin to carry yourself differently. Not louder, but steadier. The first is your boundaries. A healthy boundary is like a fence around your home, not to keep the world out, but to protect what's inside. It says, "This is my space, my energy, my peace." Too often, when we set a boundary, we feel the pull to soften it with an explanation. "I'm sorry, I can't make it tonight because I've had a long day and I need to rest, and I promise it's not about you, and I'll make it up to you." We pile on details to prove our worthiness for taking care of ourselves. But boundaries don't require permission. They require clarity. And the moment you explain them in a way that asks for approval, you've turned a statement of self-respect into a negotiation. Those who respect you won't need a long reason to honor your lines. Those who don't will never be satisfied with one. Say your boundary, hold your boundary. Let it stand without a backstory. The second is your time. You do not need to explain why you can't give it, where it's going, or how you've chosen to use it. Time is not something you can earn back, and it is one of the most precious resources you'll ever have. Still, people will ask for it freely, as though it's infinite, and when you say no, they may expect an itinerary of what's more important than them. But your time is yours to spend without apology. It doesn't have to look productive to be worthwhile. Rest is valuable. Solitude is valuable. Even doing nothing has value if it's what your mind and body need. The more you defend how you spend your hours, the more you hand over control of them. Protect your time the way you'd protect anything you can't replace, with decisiveness and without guilt. The third is your personal values. These are the quiet rules you live by, the compass you follow, the deep why behind the choices you make. They don't have to match someone else's, and they don't need validation to be real. But often, when our values bump against another person's, we feel the urge to break them down, to justify why we believe what we believe, hoping they'll come around. And in doing so, we sometimes sand down the edges until they no longer look like our values at all. The truth is, explaining your values to someone who is determined not to share them is like trying to convince a compass to point somewhere else. It's not going to happen, and you'll exhaust yourself in the attempt. You can share your values if you choose, but you do not owe the world a persuasive essay on why they're right for you. They stand because you stand in them. Fourth, your feelings. Feelings are not always logical. They don't always fit neatly into the boxes of reason, and they're not supposed to. You feel what you feel, and that in itself is enough. Yet, from the time we're young, we're taught to explain our emotions, to make them palatable, to make sure they're reasonable before they're allowed to exist. Why are you upset? You shouldn't feel that way. Explain it to me. And so we start crafting reasons that make our emotions seem valid to someone else. But here's the thing: your emotions are valid because they're yours. You can communicate them. You can share them, but you don't have to dissect them in order for them to matter. You can say, "I'm hurt," or "I'm excited," or "I'm worried," and leave it at that. You're not on trial. The fifth is your life path. Where you've been, where you are, where you're going. This is yours alone. People will have opinions about the career you chose, the relationships you nurture or leave, the risks you take, the places you move, the lifestyle you embrace. And many will expect you to explain those decisions as though your life is a group project and they have a vote. But the truth is, you can love people and still not live the life they'd choose for you. You don't owe an explanation for the turns you've taken or the ones you plan to take next. You can let your choices speak for themselves, and you can trust that those who truly care about you will respect your right to walk your own road, even if they wouldn't take the same steps. And finally, your worth. This is the one that people often try to explain without even realizing it. Through achievements, through delivering through constant proof that they deserve to be in the room. But worth isn't proven, it's inherent. The need to explain your worth is a symptom of forgetting that truth. Someone may question your abilities, your intelligence, your contribution, and you might be tempted to respond with an exhaustive list of your accomplishments to justify your place. But your worth isn't in your resume, it's in your existence. You can strive, you can grow, you can achieve, but none of that is what makes you enough. You are enough before you prove anything, and the moment you stop explaining it, you start living it. These 6 things, your boundaries, your time, your values, your feelings, your life path, your worth, are the pillars of a steady, grounded life. And here's the thing, refusing to explain them doesn't make you secretive, rude, or closed off. It makes you rooted. It means you trust yourself enough to stand without leaning on approval. It means you understand that explanation often isn't about clarity, it's about permission. And you do not need permission to be who you are. That doesn't mean you never share. You can share your boundaries as a way to connect, your values as a way to inspire, your feelings as a way to build intimacy. But when you do, let it be because you want to, not because you're trying to earn understanding from someone who's already decided not to give it. It's about choosing the moments when opening the door adds warmth rather than drafts. What you'll notice when you live this way is that the people who are meant to be in your life stop demanding explanations. They listen when you speak. They respect when you don't. They trust your decisions without needing a dissertation on why you made them. They may not always agree, but they won't make your choices feel like crimes that require a defense. And those are the relationships that will feel like breathing, easy, natural, sustaining. So practice it. Start small. The next time you feel that itch to justify, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this is mine. It's okay if they don't understand. Understanding isn't a requirement for respect. And in that pause, you'll feel something new, a sense of quiet control, the kind that comes from knowing you don't need to be translated to be true. Because here's the thing, the more you explain, the more you invite someone else to put a price tag on what can't be bought. And when you stop, you realize the only person who ever needed to fully understand your boundaries, your time, your values, your feelings, your path, and your worth was you. And that right there is enough. Now, as you settle into the stillness that remains after laying down those 6 truths, not explained, simply held, let us dwell in the quiet dignity of what this means. You've learned that your boundaries, your time, your values, your feelings, your path, your worth, each one is a foundational element of who you are, not something to be justified, but something to be rested in. Here, you may begin to sense a deeper freedom, a subtle realignment that occurs when you no longer carry the burden of explanation, the weight of convincing others to see what is already clear to you. This freedom is not loud, it is not a wave, it is not a moment, it is a slow emergence of something deeper, like a seed unfolding in dark soil. It is the root of self-trust growing undisturbed by external demand. Imagine a forest where each tree stands in its own place, shaped by the soil, the sun, the water, and not forced into rows or expectations. In that forest, no tree tries to explain itself to another. You are that tree, and your 6 truths are the trunk, the roots, the branches that reach upward without apology. Think of the last time you felt compelled to explain your feelings, your decision, your value. Was it exhaustion prompting you? A quiet pleading, a hope that if they understood, they'd not question. In those explanations, you were not offering transparency, you were seeking validation. And that chase, though subtle, will wear on you. But now, consider a different pace, one where you feel and move and choose not from persuasion, but from peaceful conviction. Imagine saying less and simply being more. That doesn't make you inaccessible. It makes you unshakable. You may wonder how others react when you stop explaining. And there's wisdom in watching. Some will lean in and listen more deeply. Some will ask questions, not to challenge, but to understand. Some may look confused as though a beloved script has been altered, and that's okay. That's the moment you stand in calm clarity, letting their discomfort exist without taking ownership of it. You are not responsible for their need to explain you. You are responsible to yourself. As this way of being takes root, you'll feel boundaries becoming lighter, not heavier. That's because you're no longer defending them, you're simply occupying them. You'll sense time becoming less scarce because you aren't allocating hours to explanation, and in those recovered moments, you may remember what used to feel urgent, your own creation, your own quiety. You'll see your values no longer needing justification because they're lived consistently, not lectured. Your feelings, they'll need no introduction. They'll simply be felt or shared on your terms without margin for judgment. Your path, it will shine more brightly without explanation because walking steadily is longer than speaking earnestly. And your worth, oh, you'll carry it like air, so natural that you'll surprise yourself in gentle moments when your own truth simply is. You may feel, at times, the draw to return to explanation, especially with those you love. It's tempting. I just want you to see me, you might think. But what you're craving is felt, not explained. Presence. It is not explained into being. You build it silently by being present with yourself. And when you offer that kind of presence to another, it is a gift more profound than paragraphs of justification. If ever you do choose to explain, as in share, it will no longer feel transactional. You'll speak because you want to offer clarity, not convince. You'll share because you trust that clarity can connect, not because connection depends on it. You'll offer your story as one person offering their song, not as a plea for permission, but as a gesture of companionship. In this quiet revolution of not explaining, you're learning a hidden art, how to be seen without being performed for, how to be loved without negotiating for it, how to exist in integrity without the applause of the outside world. And in that art, there's a calm rebellion, a refusal to keep editing yourself to fit into someone else's expectation. People may say you're distant. They may say you've grown silent. What they'll rarely see is that no sound is louder than the steadiness of someone who doesn't need to explain. Listen to that sound. It won't clamor for attention. It will simply hum beneath your skin. I am enough. I am more than enough. And at the end of this time together, I want you to know, living without explaining those 6 things is not about erecting walls. It is about reclaiming a more beautiful form of openness, one that doesn't inflate to be accepted. It is about grounding who you are in quiet certainty and extending that certainty to others, not by argument, but by example. If someone leans into you, they lean into you without feeling entitled. If someone leaves, they do so knowing they never stood inside your truth because you never looked to them to prove it. Carry this with you, that the fewer things you feel need explaining, the more room you have to explore life on your own terms. The quieter your defenses, the more resonant your being. The deeper the stillness you rest in, the clearer your presence becomes to the people who matter and to yourself. Let the unsolicited urges to explain fade into the background. They may flicker back, but greet them with composure. Pause. Breathe. Remember, you are held in your own knowing. The foundation of your life is not argument. It is presence. It is honor. It is peace. In this life, messy, alive, unrepeatable, you are permitted to hold your reasons quietly. You are permitted to guard your interior life with reverence. You are permitted to walk softly through others' expectations, not leaving a trail of proof behind you, but a trail of person who stands simply unguarded only to themselves. Walk forward with that. Walk on the ground of your singular integrity. Let your life be lived, not explained. And one day, you'll turn and find the people who stayed, those who never asked you to explain who you already are. In their presence, explanation ceases to matter because your being already speaks.